There's been lots of interest in my backyard stairs project, so I thought I'd share with you sort of what was my vision and key priorities for that, the things that I did, and so you can see how it worked out. So I'm not sure how well this picks up on a camera, but our backyard is really quite steep. And so one of the number one key priority I had for this project was safety. And so I wanted to be able to get up and down into the backyard safely for us, but also for any guests that we have over. We have a fire pit in the backyard. And so we have people coming over, and then, you know, you're coming down late at night, the lights are off. It can be a little bit treacherous coming down that hill. And then the other factor for us personally is that, we go up here all winter long with our dog Tula, before with Whiskey. And in the wintertime, it would get downright treacherous, especially in the spring when snow started to melt and, everything gets icy. And it was just really dangerous coming down that hill to come back into the house. So stairs are a way to improve the safety. Also, I wanted it to complement, the landscape. And then also I wanted to be doing something that's working with the physical laws of nature, taking advantage of understanding the natural system to create a good, long-lasting, sustainable project that also didn't cost too much. So what you see there, the dark brown cedar there, that's the upper phase, and then in the bottom you can see I still haven't built the bottom piece. You can also see on the top that I cut out dirt. That was to take the slope down because there's sort of a big bulge in the slope there. So I cut out the dirt to put the stairs in, and I just temporarily have stored that dirt over here. I shoveled it all out by hand and just wheelbarrowed it, put it over there. And then that dirt then is going to be the foundation for the bottom piece of the stairs. So we're gonna armor it with this rock that I already had here. That was sort of part of a retaining wall, and fill in with the dirt that we used up top down on the bottom. So it's just sort of a cut and fill operation, and I didn't need to get any more new materials. I have everything that I need on site for that. And we're just gonna nestle up against the retaining wall that's made from logs there, and just come back down through the rocks. So a key thing here was to improve the slope. If I go over and stand on the side, you might get a better sense of how steep this hillside is. And so that was also a bit of a limitation. I tried to stretch out the stairs as much as I could, but also not have too many stairs. So the slope of the stairs is actually half of a normal stair run on a house. But each one of the risers is somewhere between 7.5 and 8 inches, which is a little bit high if you're short. But I saved myself 2 or 3 stairs by doing that. Just have to stretch a little bit. So what I did, the way I did this, is I just started out by cutting out the ground. I have the advantage of a silty clay hard pack substrate here to dig out of, so it was pretty nice. I could just notch out the general stair pattern and measured off the curve. You can see the curve that I got there. Tried to keep a reasonable arc on that I would be able to bend the wood with, that it wouldn't break, and just basically make my way down. So I sort of pre-fitted the stairs. To do that, I'm going to get a little buzz here from a helicopter. He must be interested in my stairs too. Anyway, so I just cut them out by hand, just with a hand shovel, and as I mentioned, I just took the dirt and wheelbarrowed it down there and stored it down there for the time being. And that gave me a good pattern then to follow. And then I built a frame, a wooden frame, up both sides. You can sort of see down here one of the stakes of the frame is still exposed because I haven't filled in all the gravel. And so I had a series of stakes going all the way up the side, and those serve as the basis for securing each one of the step trays. So then I built these trays down here. You can see down here, this is 1-inch treated lumber. I got the treated so that it would resist breakdown and decomposition over time because these are outside stairs. And down here on the stairs then too, underneath, I also have frames you can see by where the screws are right here. There's 2 screws down here, so, and then one right there. So there, and then over here at this one, there are framing posts underneath there, and then 2 on each side, and then 2 at the back. And then I just followed that pattern all the way up. And so the nice thing about that is that because there's a post right underneath this, you know, you can jump up and down on this leading edge of the stair, and it's so super solid because it's basically anchored right in and supported right underneath it. So there's 8 screws for each stair that are securing the tray into the outer frame. And so I built the whole frame first, and then I put the sides on of the stairs, and then I filled the gravel. And so what I did was down the sides too, I left about a couple inches. In some places it's only an inch, a minimum of an inch. So 3 to 5 centimeter gap down the side for drainage. And so once I filled in the side wood, there's this sort of gap going down the side of the stairs, and I filled it with this 1/2-inch river rock. Now I had the benefit of getting this tongue and groove cedar wood. It was recycled from our neighbors. Doug and Bev did an update on their basement. They took this off of the walls. They gave it to me. They were really careful taking it down, and so they didn't ruin the wood, which is great. Cedar is so good outdoors. It's naturally resistant to decomposition. So it's the perfect material for outdoor garden stairs like this. It'll resist. I'll probably end up staining it eventually, but I wouldn't really have to for it. It'll resist decomposition just on its own. It's also, the boards were thin enough that I could bend them a little bit and I could make the curve. So you can see the curve there. It was a little bit tough. Easier on the inside curve than it was on the outside curve. I had too much, it was too sharp over here. And so I actually had a break. I had to cut my break there in the outside curve just because the tensile strength of the wood wasn't strong enough. It would have split if I'd tried to push it too hard. I probably should have done a better job of engineering the curve on the outside there and making it a little more shallow, but something you might learn if you're going to do this. So important for drainage and erosion control. Like, what you don't want to do is do all this work on the stairs and then have a great big rainstorm or runoff in the spring and it all washes away or gets eroded and damaged. So controlling runoff is really important. This is where I chose to work with nature and just keep the porosity up. That's why I chose gravel. The whole idea is that when water comes down here, it then drains underneath the stairs down into the ground and carries on in its natural way. If I'd have put cement or something else that's impervious on here, what it would have done is all flowed down, increased in flow, and have much more erosive capability and potentially damage my stairs and cost me a bunch of time and money. So I didn't want to do that. So instead, I work with Mother Nature and keep the porosity up. So underneath the stairs, I just ran a 20-year porous fabric to keep any weeds or anything like that from coming up underneath, so I won't have to maintain that. But it's fully porous. So now when rain comes, like it rained last night, and it just goes into the gravel, percolates down and straight into the soil and underneath the stairs as per normal. Same on the sides. I don't have to worry about the sides caving in or any heaving happening, like when you get water in there and then it's freeze thaw. If these were concrete or something like that, they'd break down over time from all that movement. But because I've filled it with round rocks, there's plenty of room for the rock to move, and it will just absorb that energy, and so there'll never be pressure on the side of the stairs. Yeah, so there's about 1.5 inches or so, 3 or 4 centimeters of gravel on each step. And yeah, there's a few, they're garden stairs, and I was using recycled material, so not every cut. This is probably my worst cut right here. Didn't fit. Most of them were okay, but then the boards move, and so where there's gaps, I think what I'll do is fill that in with some fir bark mulch that I've got. It'll match the wood. It'll control the water flow, and it'll be a disincentive for insects and things to build their houses in there, which would be a problem. You see there's an ant here already. He's checking it out. Let's see, overall, so the project cost me about $350 in materials. Not too bad. I probably put about 30 hours of labor into it over the summer. And eventually I'm going to take a path up here from the stairs up to our fire pit. I built this 12 years ago on the same principles with porous fabric and round rock. The other nice thing about this round river rock, I like to walk around in bare feet, so I can walk on this in bare feet and you don't get any pokies. And it's real easy to maintain. Just get a rake out a couple times a year and rake it up. We did the same thing for our whole garden here, just using natural products and allowing the water to move down in the ground rather than over land. So that takes away any erosion problems. Have never had any problems in the spring with runoff or anything, despite the steepness of the slope. So working with nature on that one not only looks nice, but saves me money, and I don't have to worry about having the project, be damaged in the future. I can be pretty darn confident this is going to last a long time. So you can see here, this is just now down to the second phase where we'll fill in the second set of stairs. So overall, a pretty good little summer project. Safety was the key. This very, very super steep slope over here that becomes like a glazed sliding run in the spring, we won't have to worry about it. We'll be able to walk up on here. A couple more things on this. I'm going to put in some solar lights along the side of the stairs, just little ones. So then we'll have lighting, but that again, I'm just using solar energy, so I don't have to do any wiring. That saves money and time, and it's also renewable energy, which is much better. And I selected dark rocks instead of white rocks. Now, white rocks might have looked more decorative, but dark rocks having a low albedo will attract the solar energy in the winter and the spring that we get from the sun and help melt and defrost these stairs faster. So any day we get a sunny day, that'll attract that heat, and it'll melt out any ice or anything that's forming down in the rocks and help maintain them so that they stay clear in the winter. I mean, we'll still have to clear the big snow loads, but we won't have to. Anytime we get a warmish day or a nice sunny day, it'll attract that heat down into the rocks. So again, just getting Mother Nature to help me out a little bit. If you work with her, she'll give you all kinds of benefits. A lot of people think that, if you're interested in the environment, it's sort of a anti everything else, but it's not the case at all. Working with Mother Nature here just saves money, makes things safer, makes it easier to work with. I think it looks nicer than overwhelming or trying to overwhelm it with like concrete and other human products that aren't natural. And anyway, my little spiel on the fact that you can work with the environment, and it's actually an improvement on your pocketbook as well. So if you got any questions about these stairs, or you're thinking about doing your own project, and let me know what's on your mind about that. I'll be happy to answer any questions. If you got ideas that might have improved this, share them, so that if somebody else is doing that and going to build their own project, they can learn from you and me. All right, I will do another video when I get the bottom end of the stairs finished up in a few weeks.